I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. Today I'm going to provide a rules overview and review of Disney Hocus Pocus the game. It's ages 8 and up, 2 to 6 players, and it takes 20 to 30 minutes. Let me show you how to play. The goal of the game is to stun the Sanderson sisters 3 times before running out of your deck of ingredient cards. You stun them by taking turns. You are cooperatively placing cards out into the center onto the board, and if all of the cards are the same color, or if all of the cards are the same item, then you get to move the sun token up. You have stunned one of the Sanderson sisters, and you get to continue on to the next round. And if you do that 3 times and the sun gets to here before your deck is run out, then you have won the game. Game setup, you just put out the witch's board, the cauldron board. These are trick tokens. I'll cover what those are in a minute. You have Binks the cat, a stun token, and these are the witch's spell cards, and then you have 50 ingredient cards to start with. Each player in a 2 to 3 player game is given 4 cards each, and in 4, 5, or 6 players, each person is given 3 cards each. You can look at your hand, but keep the cards a secret from the other players. Whoever most recently lit a candle goes first, or when in doubt, just the oldest player goes first. We'll say it is this player here. I'm going to flip over the cards, even though the other players wouldn't be able to see it. And the only rule to playing cards is it must match either the color, so this is blue, you can play blue here, or the type of item. So Dash of Pox can go on top of Dash of Pox, or it can go over here. Same thing with Newt Saliva, can go on top of the Newt spot or over here. So it's pretty simple. To start your turn, before placing a card, you ask one question to the other players. And you can say something like, because they have a lot of blue cards, may think, ooh, that's a good thing to go for. We could get a lot of blue. So they'll say, do you have any blue cards? And the other players, all they can say is yes or no. So this player would say yes, but they don't say that they have 3 blue cards. They would just say yes. And this player would say no. That's all the information you get to do. This player will go ahead and play. You redraw at the end of your turn back to 4 cards, and then nobody has seen these cards. It's the next person's turn. They also get to ask a question, and they have a bunch of these little newt guys. So they might say, do you have any newt saliva? And then this player looks, and yes, they just say yes, even though it's the one. And this player says yes as well. They have a lot of those. So we'll go ahead and have this person say, well, I guess I'm just going to go ahead and play that, and we'll see how it pans out. You can't share, let's go for blue. You can't say, well, let's go for that. You are not supposed to communicate that. Then, in addition to that, there are a couple little symbols on some of the cards. They are located below, near the top, and it's either the Binks the cat symbol or a spell symbol, and I'll show you what both of those do. If you play a card with Binks the cat, they'd ask a question first. Do you have any orange? And the other players respond, and they play this out. So now they have Binks in front of them. They get to draw a card, and everyone gets to look at their cards, and they're no longer a secret. They're just placed face up on the table, as long as they have Binks in front of them. A few different things. There's a spell card that can make Binks go away. If it's the end of the round, Binks goes away, or if somebody else plays a Binks card, Binks can be removed from play. But even if this card gets covered up, Binks still gets to be out. The other option is if instead they had played this one with the spell card, then you flip over one of these cards, the spell cards for the Sanderson sisters. And this one is a Mary Sanderson card, and it says choose a pile with at least 1 ingredient, discard all of the ingredients in that pile. So if you got this card, you could say, oh, bummer, I'm going to discard this, and then this would be discarded as well. Some of these can affect that. I'll get to these in a second. Also, if you're later in the game and if you had stunned if it's later in the game and you'd gotten it so everything was the same color, if it says the name of who's casting the spell at the top, if Mary Sanderson was stunned, then her spell would miss and you wouldn't have to perform the actions on the spell. In addition to playing a card with a spell symbol on it, you can get the spell cards if you just can't play a card on your round, which is infrequent, but it can happen. So we'll say that this player it's their turn and they can't play any of these out there. What happens if that's the case is you first draw a spell card. You say, well, I can't play. I'm drawing a spell. And this says, discard the top 5 cards from the ingredient deck. It's a Winifred spell. So even if the spell blocker's in front of Mary, that's Winifred, so it's going to happen. So you discard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this player gets to choose. They can discard all of their cards. They have to discard at least one from their hand. So we'll say maybe they choose to discard 2 cards, and then they get to draw another 2, and that's it for their hand. Let's talk about the power tokens. A lot of times these help it so that situation doesn't happen. You don't want to have to discard cards, and I'll show you why at the end of a round. So instead of this person not being able to play and discarding a card, you have options. There's Billy Butcherson. You don't have to play an ingredient. So you could choose, after asking your question and looking and seeing you can't play, you could flip over this card and your turn would be skipped and it would go on to the next person. The other spells mostly are after you've asked a question. Circle of Salt, if a spell comes out and it's a bad one, you can choose to discard the spell and not do it, and then just flip over the next card, and then you have to do that spell instead. Otherwise, there's a card, Burning Rain of Death. You discard 3 ingredients and get to draw 3 ingredients, which is, again, useful if you can't play or if you're going for just one last one. If you're trying to get all green and you just need one more, that can be helpful. And then Daylight Savings, you can swap 1 ingredient with the player. So all of these, once you've used them, you just flip them over, one-time use for the entire game. Let me show you what happens at the end of a round. So we'll say that this round, they did go for all green. So we'll just say it's like this, and then it's this person's turn, and let's see, we'll just say that they've got it set up here so they're able to, if there was a green severed toe, that's what that one is. If there was a green severed toe, then they got to play this on top. Hooray! That's the end of a round, and you block different Sanderson sisters depending on the spell you cast. So if they do that, they have a list on the back of the rules that's really handy, and I highly recommend just going through these steps the first few times, because there's a few steps. It's very simple, but it's nice to have a step-by-step thing so you don't lose any, you don't miss anything. So first, this player would draw an extra card and end their turn. Then you get to place the stun token over the sister you stunned. So this one was Sarah, is if you do all the same color. Mary is if all of the ingredients match. And if you're able to do both, then you, at the same time, then you block Winifred. It doesn't matter if you just do the same spell on the same witch 3 times in a row. You still win the game. So if this is the beginning, you hadn't done it at all yet, this is your first spell, you got it, you move the sun up 1, and this is indicating dawn approaching. Now you get to gather all of the ingredients from the cauldron with the ingredients in the discard pile. Of these, you take out any of the ones that don't have either the spell book or Binks on them, and you're going to set them off to the side, and you don't use them again for the rest of the game. So your deck is smaller for the final 2 spells you're trying to cast. You keep the cards in your hand. You put these, you shuffle these in. Binks is moved off to the side again, so this player doesn't get to show their cards. They're face down again. And then the next round starts with the player to the left of whoever completed this. So it's this person's turn. They ask a question of everybody, get a yes or no answer. Place one of their cards. Look, they got Binks back. And then you just keep on going and you win as long as you do that a total of 3 times over the course of the game. You cast 3 spells, get to here, and you haven't run out of cards in your deck. So that's how to play Disney Hocus Pocus, the game. The target demographic for this is it is a family level game, specifically for someone who really enjoys the movie and is excited for a game themed on that. The rule complexity is easy. However, the rule book seemed long to me, and it had a lot of words to read through my first time through. It just seemed kind of long. That said, I think they're describing how to play really well, and how they have it all written out makes it very clear and easy to play. This is one where once you know the basics, then it is so quick and easy to get up and running and to teach other people to play. It's just that first time through, if you're actually reading through the rule book, takes a minute. How competitive is this game? It is a cooperative game, but it is still challenging. And I would say it's challenging on like a medium level, appropriate for a family game. You are not guaranteed the victory every time you play. In fact, the first time we played this game, we lost horribly. We didn't get to cast any spells. But we also didn't use any of the special power tokens. And then we realized we should use those in the future games, and we did much better. But it's nice. You do feel like one of the first few times we played, we lost horribly. Another time we won handily. And then a third time was like a nail biter where it got down to the finish and we were able to use a power and win with like our last cards. So it's nice. I feel like it's one where you don't play and you're like, oh, well, we're just gonna win like we always do. There's a little bit of tension there, which I think is really nice and healthy and adds to the game. The replay value is medium because this isn't a game where, just because of the theme and the type of gameplay, where I don't think you'd play this every Friday night all year as like your go-to family game. However, this is absolutely one that a family would get out for the month of October and just play a bunch. And it's one where I feel like it can stand the test of time, where you would play this with kids when they're in elementary school and they'd be cute and it would be fun, but they still would want to get to play it in middle school and even high school, where it's just a fun, the level of play and how the game is set up doesn't feel too little kiddish, so it has good staying power, and I really like this. So this is one that you could play for years and really enjoy. Similar games, if you like this one, Cauldron Quest is a cooperative game in which you are trying to stop the wizard and create the correct potions to make up your, to put in the cauldron in the middle. And it feels kind of like an unbranded level Hocus Pocus with just a generic wizard theme. And it's geared a little bit younger than this, but it is such a great game. And again, it's cooperative and it's really fun. My kids love it. And then if you like this and want another cooperative kind of a seasonal game, Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters is just fabulous. And it's basically like cooperative Clue, in which you have your guys going into a house and go into rooms like you do in Clue, but you're trying to take out treasure, all while battling ghosts that keep on entering into the haunted house. And it is very strategic and very fun, and another good choice. But if you just love Hocus Pocus the movie and are excited for a game to play based off of that, Disney Hocus Pocus the game is a good one, and you should check it out. Thanks, and see you next time from Game Like a Mother.